Good Girls wasn't promoted as a show you needed to watch on Netflix. It isn't even a show on Netflix. I believe it's NBC. And this is only relevant because I want it to be known that I only started watching this series because I had nothing else to watch. And boy, was I happily shocked. The first season of Good Girls was amazing. One of the best series I had seen in a while, without a doubt. At once, I ranked it up with Ozark and Game of Thrones as my favorite series at the times to watch. They had the funny but irresponsible character with Annie, the stay-at-home, boring life mom with Beth, and Ruby, the friend of them, who's a hardworking, married woman trying to sustain a better life for her sick daughter. The first thing that catches my eye in the film is the strong women characters. Ruth, as I said, is fighting for her sick daughter. And there's a moment in the first season when, as she's working as a waitress, a rich, snobby kid tries to make her life hell, and she stands up for herself so hard she gets fired from her job. Annie is a single mother, a broke single mother, with custody of her teenage daughter. She's in a custody battle with her rich ex-boyfriend, but refuses to give up. And then you have Beth, who figures out her husband is cheating and kicks him out and eventually becomes the head of a cartel while also taking care of her young children by herself. Wow. But in the places where the show thrived, they also fell hard at making these situations more realistic. For instance, we're still in the first season. Beth's husband cheats and spends all of their money, making them broke. Ruth needs money for her sick daughter, and Annie needs money for this custody battle. So it's realistic to think they would want to rob a bank, and you can even make a case that it's realistic they would actually rob a bank. Instead, they decide to rob a grocery store Annie works at. They're caught by Annie's boss, but makes it out with a lot more money than they expected to get. Things get a little unrealistic when Annie's boss doesn't turn her in and instead tries to assault her. So they take him hostage, but still, I understand. The girls realize the money is from a local cartel, and Beth convinces the cartel that the women are better off alive because if they were murdered, the FBI would be all over them because they're just born housewives that have an imprint on their communities. So in return, the girls do a job for the cartel in order to make things even. Beth goes from being the boring, always do right lady to the I want to be head of the cartel boss lady in a matter of weeks when she makes it known to Rio, the cartel boss, that she'd like to do more jobs for the money after he had already let them off the hook. The girls keep secrets, they make money, they have funny moments, and the show makes you really enjoy these characters. And then the fatal flaw occurs. Dean, the husband. Dean fakes cancer in order to move back in with Beth. Beth eventually tells him that the girls are working for the cartel and the FBI is slowly getting on their trail. Dean tells her that she needs to stop talking to Rio, turn Rio in. Beth eventually finds out Dean is faking cancer after he almost dies in a car crash. And at the end of season 1, Beth is forced with the decision to kill either Rio or kill Dean, the husband and father of her children. This is where the series went wrong. Season 2. I get it. Beth is made to have some fantasy with Rio because he's exciting, and she's been lied to, and she's been boring her whole life, and she's been cheated on recently. But the fact that the writers made it a tough decision to decide on killing Rio or killing her husband is absurd, when killing Rio would solve so many problems for her, and Rio was nothing but unkind to her. I can say it. That's the nicest way I can say it. She eventually couldn't pull the trigger on either, so Rio shoots her husband, who she assumes is dead at the time, and when she finds out he isn't dead, she isn't relieved because she wanted him to die. She wanted the life with Rio. Meanwhile, Annie has issues with her own daughter after she has an affair with her ex-boyfriend, her daughter's father. I just think that Annie and the daughter were too close for that to have affected their relationship so strongly, as well as Ruth, who after her husband becomes a cop, has information that the girls have robbed another store. Ruth has to tell him the truth, and she says she did what she did for their daughter. And Stan, her husband, hated her for it. I mean, listen, none of these women are bad women, except Beth. They wouldn't have robbed or worked for the cartel if their situations weren't dire. So the fact that they became so hated because of it and hated from the people that were close to them was just the inability to write something more interesting, in my opinion. Beth takes her husband back in the house and takes care of him while she's lying about not seeing Rio because it's her fault that he shot in the first place. They have a situation with the crazy woman they let work for them, who kills Annie's old boss and blames it on the girls. Annie has a weird relationship with her boss's grandmother, who figures out was hiding him the whole time, and he was never dead. Even when they found him alive, he didn't want to help the girls clear their name, and Beth was still fighting for Rio's attention after he cuts them off from working with the cartel. Are you guys getting confused with all this information? Yeah, me too. This is the problem with the show. Why make the second season so complicated? The show is already complex. You don't need all these different characters making life difficult for the mains. They are women who rob stores for their family with the FBI on their tail. That's enough. This show should have either ended after the first season or have been so similar to the first season, where they put the girls in another dire situation where they must steal in order to live. Oh, and I almost forgot. Even Ruby's dying daughter hates her for robbing and stealing so she can survive. How does that make any sense? Beth is so unlikable. The writers make her a strong woman, then a weak woman in the same scene, and they make it seem as if all stay-at-home mothers hate being at home with their kids. And this is why I won't be watching season 3 of Good Girls. It is unwatchable. It started off really good, and it ended bad. And finally, to quote my girlfriend, a fan of the show, it's crazy how a writer would want to make every main character unlikable and expect you to still feel close to all of the characters on the show. I love you, May. I love you, Christina. And I love you, Retta. But the truth is the truth. And this show is not good anymore. Comment below and let me know what you guys think. If you agree, if you disagree, if you know what Good Girls is, if you like Good Girls or hate it. As always, like and subscribe. We'll talk soon.